Hello, everyone. I signed up for StreamYard for you just so I can play you a nice intro for this workshop. So let me check my mic, and if you can all see me. Hello, hello. I'm so excited to bring this to you. This is so meaningful to me that I have massively over perfectionisted it, and I couldn't stop editing it and bringing different things because it's something that has made such a big difference for my whole life. So yeah, I'm excited to share it with you today. Okay, so if you are watching, I do have some slides for you, but I'd recommend you can always download them to follow along with me as I go through them here. And then I would say, let's jump right in. I will also try to monitor the school comments as much as possible. So I just put out these posts. But ideally, if you're watching on YouTube, I have an easier time bringing up your questions and feedback. Like, so hi, Gio, nice to see you. Very excited for this. Hey, so nice to have so many of you live. All right, so let me just quickly start. Good morning. Hello, hello. Ah, so many nice. Yes, there will be an ongoing recording for you guys available because this really is a foundational piece, I would say, of my content. Okay. Hi there. How's it going? Nice to see you. All right. So let me jump right into the workshop slides because we have a lot to cover. So this workshop is called the Scaled Self Vision Lab. And I want to start by kind of reminding everyone, because I know that you know this, how we approach things changes the actual reality of things. And this is not woo-woo or anything. This is actually really logical, right? So how we approach things changes our perception. How we perceive things changes how we respond to them and how we act. How we act is what generates the outcome, right? So that's the input to the outcome that determines our results, and our results are our realities. Like, what do we get? So our approach is basically the stance, the knowledge, or the frame that we bring to any situation, right? And our perception, the approach, filters what we notice or how we interpret it, right? So when I come here with an approach of I'm going to blow this out of the water, make this really amazing, no matter what, I will have your response received differently. I will respond to the mistakes that I might make as I'm presenting differently. I have a completely different energy. And with that, all of the micro actions that I take, even how I smile, even how I'm bringing up the comments, right? The energy in which I present, that changes, right? Based on how I'm perceiving it. I'm already perceiving this as great and successful. So I bring something completely different to the situation. And that allows me naturally, without me having to think about it, do all of the right things to ultimately get the outcome that I'm after, which is turning this into a great workshop. So my reality is very much shaped by this. I could also approach this from a different perspective and say, beat myself up and say, oh, I overthought this so much that I last night up until 1 in the morning edited these slides, and now I'm tired. I acted out of alignment with how I wanted with myself. And that means that I'm not really feeling good presenting this to you guys. And I'm taking everything as a sign that I need to deliver better and like put a lot of pressure on myself. So I could completely alter the reality of how this is turning out. And this is true for every situation in our life and business. The easiest to understand this is when I don't know, are you married? Are you in a partnership? Then you know a lot about this. The assumptions you make about the intentions of your spouse and how they meant certain things will determine if you are curious and you want to understand their point of view and you want to seek connection, or if you're defensive and you actually, closing down the walls. So our approach to things changes everything. And what I'm presenting you today is a different approach to vision, brand, and strategy work. So it literally changes everything about your business because it changes the approach. Let me know in the chat if you've experienced this recently, right? So if you can think of a situation maybe that didn't go so well, and now looking back, you can see how if you came at it from a different angle, you would have gotten a better result. Or maybe there was a situation that, was maybe a little crappy, but because you had a really good attitude, the knowledge how to handle the situation, and a good frame for the situation, you actually turned that shit into gold, right? So think about it. If you have a situation that comes up for you, maybe you can drop it in the chat so we can discuss it a little bit and make this more real for everyone, because I think it's those little things that we know that we just need to be reminded of, that when taken into consideration and executed in our life actually make all the difference. Okay, so now I want you to kind of take a step back at business, right? And so before maybe I come in, I'm going to see, is my audio working? Absolutely. Is everyone hearing me? Hi, Jennifer. Absolutely, yes. So I think this is something, right, we experience all quite frequently if we're paying attention to it. And sometimes we can be in this rut, right, where we're kind of rushing through life and nothing goes our way. And if we're checking in with ourselves, we're like, oh, my attitude has really been off lately, right? I spiraled into quite a bit of negativity or resentment or telling myself certain stories. All right, so thank you so much for confirming that. Now, most people that come into my world, I've helped unite over 65,000 customers, over 35,000 paid subscribers. I've generated over 8 million. I've helped tens of thousands of people in their business in various capacities as I was able to, right? First, just with building websites and running ads, and then with consulting around that, and then more and more also with mindset and becoming the person you need to be as part of your offer, right? And so most people think that they want money. When they come to me, it's like, I want money. It's like literally the double thing. It's like, obviously, duh, right? I want the success and the admiration and the abundance, right? To maybe even provide for my family, right? So I'm not saying like money from a like greedy, I need to buy lavish things for myself, although there's nothing wrong with that perspective. Most people come from a I want this so I am able to provide for others, so that I am able to be self determined, so I can decide how I divide my time. So I have time for my passions, which mostly are work around myself, for myself, may that be, exercise or personal development work. But money is my vehicle into it. So I need my business to grow. But I want to challenge that and say that what most people, and I have yet to find another example, want is a certain lifestyle and being really freaking proud of the person looking back when they stare in the mirror. That's what ultimately it comes down to for a lot of people. And lifestyle can be different, right? Hormozy is after a different lifestyle than, for example, I am. But still, he is seeking a certain lifestyle, competitive greatness, a billionaire lifestyle. And it is still, just like he said at one point, he doesn't believe in mindset. Action over mindset is a mindset, in my opinion, right? And so having a certain lifestyle based on your business that's highly competitive, playing in a really high league, being perceived as a certain person is still a lifestyle he's seeking, right? We always seek a lifestyle, and we always seek that unfolding of our true potential, that when we're staring in the mirror, we're proud of who is staring back. So how we're achieving these things at the end of the day matters to us a lot. And so I want to prove it to you and say, I'm giving you 8 million, right? Do you want that? Let me know. You take it or not? Right? Most of you probably are hesitant to say, well, I'm taking up on the 8 million, because you're like, what strings are attached to it, right? What if the cost of those 8 millions was all of your time, the only thing that you never ever get back? Right? What if it was your body's years, your nervous system, and damage you can never fully restore? And I know I have now also a lot of younger people in my audience, and I have a lot of people that are my age, and I have a lot of people that are maybe a little bit older than me. The older you get and the more people you have in your life that unfortunately, you lose or that are battling diseases that cannot be cured, the more you start to realize the own limitations of your body, the more you start to appreciate that. The relationships, right? What if it comes at the cost of the relationships with the people that you said you were doing this for because you can barely be present with them? If you can be physically present with them, your mind's still always at that business, chasing that money. Your peace of mind replaced with hypervigilance, anxiety, maybe panic attacks, and just pure exhaustion. And your integrity, waking up and realizing you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You have done things you're not proud of. You have said things you cannot stand behind. Is it worth it if it comes at those costs? Some of you might be like, 8 million, YOLO, Evelyn, I do it because, for 8 million, come on, I'll do it. But my question is, for how long? And the reason why I ask this question is because I've generated 8 million online and I have paid a high price of it or a high price for it. I did invest a lot of time that, ultimately, again, I want to come from an approach nothing is ever wasted. And at the same time, a lot of this is where I feel like deep regret thinking that the universe took what, 13.8 billion years to evolve until this point, and everything had to conspire for me to exist here. And then I'm only existing for, a blink of an eye. And I spent my time doing certain things for certain people in a certain way where I'm like, wow, when I add this up, I feel sick to my stomach, right? I have done things to my body, pushing through. I've been struggling with panic attacks. I've spent a lot of time working that I wanted to spend more conscious with my family, especially with my son. A baby is only a baby once, and a toddler is only a toddler once. And I think the most humbling thing about having children is that you see them vanish before your eyes, right? So you have this beautiful version of this cute little pumpkin, and tomorrow he's gone. And you have a new, wonderful little pumpkin, but that baby, like now it's not there anymore, right? And the same is true when you look into your partner's eyes, when you look into your parents' eyes, your grandparents, right? The people you love, and you can see things fade. And I regret every single time I was on my phone checking notifications and trying to stay on top of that business that I built because I thought that money will solve all of these things that I could have optimized along the way, right? And so I want to come from that perspective of I'm still pretty proud of how I did things. And at the same time, I wish I would have been more intentional and acted out of more alignment. But the thing is, I can forgive myself because I didn't know what I'm going to tell you in this presentation. Okay, so let me tell you, I've done things that just purely were not sustainable. And I've also done things that were highly sustainable and highly leveraged. And today I want to bring you the essence of what not to do and what to do. And I'm going to give you the exact process that has condensed and crystallized and is how I'm working today as well. Okay, so my promise to you is that this workshop is all about sustainability and scale through synergy. I want to help you become who you want to be as you scale your business and scale your business as you become who you want to be. I want you to walk away with clarity to design a North Star vision that unites your dreams for yourself, your business, your life, and your legacy. Okay, so that's what I want to do for you, and how I want to facilitate that is by covering the following things: the why and the how. The why, we're going to talk about building a personal brand versus a business versus a founder-led business. I want to talk to you about lever as the foundation for scaling, synergy as a higher order lever, monetizing your personal growth journey, my full circle, keep coming back, North Star, your destination and your guide, how you can flip the pyramid. And this has nothing to do with multi-level marketing, by the way. Every time I say pyramid, I'm like, but it's not a scheme. It's not and then I want to introduce to you the brand framework that I've been able to realize and bring into the world and leverage. And then I want to talk about the power of self-mentoring, because it's a key to all of this. The how is the self method. I'm going to show you my North Star cycle, the clarity work that I do, how I keep a becoming tracker, and then how I repurpose all of this into free content, on YouTube, lead magnets, mini offers, order bumps, beta programs, memberships, cohorts, certifications, and stuff like that. All right. Let me know if you are still with me, if that makes sense, if you're excited, if you have concerns right now, you can still do that. Okay, so I'm in. Yes, please. Depends on what's involved. Exactly, right. I'd take it. Fear of taking it. Thank you. My youngest child has gone to uni and has gone so fast. I think that, there are these calendars where you have the average days of an existence of a human being on this plane. And it's a calendar where you can color off the days. And I think it's so powerful, but it's also so scary. I personally can't handle it because my anxiety would go through the roof every day, like, coloring off another day of this list. But your children are kind of the same. So you look at them, they're like, oh, it's real, right? The time is limited and it goes really, really fast. So they're almost like that. Sounds amazing. Beautiful. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll be 59 on the 25th this month, and I'm so excited for my future. This is beautiful. And I think that's also the beautiful perspective to see it is every moment is a starting point as well. So I always feel like that in my business and in my life as well. I'm just getting started. So congratulations. A little bit ahead of time. All right. So I want to come in with a quote, and I want to say that I have been in, I've been exposed to Gary Vee like at the around 2018 mark is when I started to become an entrepreneur, right? So I had my accidental business that scaled. I did do one-to-one client work before, but that scaled from 0 to 12 million. And that's when I started to self-identify as an entrepreneur. I was starting to watch a lot of entrepreneurial YouTube, and I was exposed to Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was like, oh, this guy is just talking. He's just a yapper, right? But I have to say, the longer I've been doing this, the more I'm like, oh, Gary was right. It's the same like with Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secret. I was reading this and I was like, that all sounds fancy, but I have no idea like what he actually means by that or how to execute on it. And now I keep going back and I keep rereading it, and I'm like, everything he said has become true. Like this was like a prophecy of my life. Like looking back, all of the things he said, I actually did. I just didn't understand that this is what he meant, right? So I was kind of missing the bridge of understanding how to operationalize. But when I now look back from Expert Secrets, I'm like, holy cow, that's my trajectory. And when I now listen to Gary Vaynerchuk again, I'm like, yes, to all of this, I get it now because I've been able to live it. And what he said, one thing that couldn't be more true in this context is it's important to build a personal brand because it's the only thing you're going to have, right? Markets and industries are changing fast and completely unpredictably. That's also true with AI. And I know we're coming out on the other end of the hype, but I've been now in this industry for 5 years. I've been in digital marketing for 15 years. There's always something new, right? And it's ever evolving and ever changing. A personal brand is the ultimate asset in today's world because reputation and visibility far outlast any gig, job, business, or career, right? Even if you have a business, you have a career. And I really want people to start thinking about that, the longevity of that. So it's the foundation upon which future opportunities and connections are built. It's your biggest asset. I want you, and again, shifting your approach, shifting how you think about things, I want you to start thinking personal brand. My personal brand is much, much, much bigger than my business. Most of the entrepreneurs that I've helped, they come to me and they're like, I want to make this business work, so I have to build a personal brand. And what happens is that the frame you pick is, here's my personal brand, here's my business, and my personal brand has to fit in here, right? So it's boxing you in. It's creating a constraint already. Versus when you say, I want to build a personal brand and I want to make it as expansive as possible, right? Within what's true for me. And because I have that, I can fit all of those opportunities in there and I can leverage them synergetically. It's a very, very different mindset. It's a very different frame of reference, a very different operating system. And I want you to make this switch, right? You are building this business right now, but the far bigger opportunity, especially right now with the leverage we have on media, is to say 100% focus on building my personal brand. It will lift this business that I have right now immediately, but to the same extent or even bigger extent than if I grow my personal brand to grow that business. But it will also open up all of those other opportunities for me, right? A business can succeed, it can pivot, or it can disappear. When I got into business, I was working as a waitress, got a back injury, needed to have a job that pays the bills. I always loved writing, had a blog, I wrote like books when growing up, and a jewelry online store in my little town was looking for somebody to write product descriptions for jewelry. So I was like, I think I can do that. They hired me. It was a good fit. I was quicker than they thought, and I was scared for my job. So I was like, what else can I do to make myself useful? Then I suggested them writing a blog. Then I suggested doing giveaways on Facebook. Then those giveaways on Facebook were working really well. And because I already was managing them through the blog and Facebook, when Facebook ads came out, they were like, do you want to give this a try? Right. And at that time, we were also breaking up with our agency. I made a concept for how I would do the marketing and had little knowledge from my blog and from like learning the things myself. So I got in charge for that. I started studying on the weekends. I was one of the first people who ran Facebook ads. My marketing professors who were still very much offline loved the idea. They hired me for little gigs. I had to start my first business so I could invoice them. But, it was still like exchanging my time for money. I was just doing it beside work. And then when I was at work, I was again in a pickle because the e-commerce department was going really poorly and they were about to shut it down. So I went out on cold client acquisition and somehow I was able to acquire Amazon as a customer. And I saw their order system had this algorithm that would buy certain products that were end of life and constrained in availability at any price point. So I told this to my boss and I was like, I think if we're able to organize these products, we can sell at a very high margins. He didn't want to hear me. So I went to my neighbor who had heard that I'm in digital marketing as well from my professors, which were connected with him. And I told him about this and he was giving me the cash to basically fund this and do this. And within 9 months, we had offered over 400,000 different products to Amazon. We were ordering them from all across Europe, did 0 to 12 million, and everything exploded. So I was like, I did it. I'm a very, very, very successful business person, right? I'm an entrepreneur. Well, Amazon was like, 9 months later, your costs are trash. We drop you as a client. And all of my friends that I'd hired, I had to let them go, right? Friendships crumbled. My back then fiance, who I got to work closer with during this project and saw that we were not a good fit, which in hindsight was a good idea, but my almost a decade long relationship and engagement broke up. So I had quit my job because the thing was exploding so fast, so I couldn't cover everything. So I had lost my job that was giving me identity. I lost my friends. I lost my fiance. I lost the business. I did have a payout that would, keep me over water for a little bit, but I had basically nothing. The business disappeared, and I had the little clients that I had from referrals. They had broken off. I hadn't done nothing to build a personal brand, and so I was back at zero overnight. 0, 12 million, 0, right? 0 minus friends, minus fiance, minus job, So businesses, they can come and go, right? And if I had a personal brand, I would have been like one email and your girl is back, on track. So Your personal brand, your reputation, your presence, your body of work, that carries forward through every shift, right? And your body of work, like even if I would have just documented that journey, I would have not started from zero, because after that, I didn't even take a picture of the warehouse. I can't even show you guys this because didn't document anything. If I would have just started to document that journey, me pivoting and finding, more clients, etc., would have been so easy. But I went out and I had zero portfolio of the client work that I had done, right? So I just hadn't built a body of work at all, and this was why I was falling extremely low. Like I was falling extremely deep. There was no safety net. There was nothing I could leverage. When your brand is strong, you can launch again and again and again. You can pivot faster. You can stack new businesses on top of that. You build a safety net and a lever that you carry wherever you go, right? So you're de-risking yourself. You're making yourself less vulnerable to the things that you can't control in business. And there's so many of them. Um, the trust and attention that you've built, they always stay with you. In entrepreneurship, that makes your brand your ultimate asset. We also see this with the Hormozy launch. I mean, one of the smartest entrepreneurs on the planet, what did he do? He spent 3 years just building his brand and then starting to reek in all of the opportunities that had built, and it compounded so far that he was able to do $100 million launch off of it, right? So it compounds all of your options over time while drowning out most of your risk over time. And this is why I say to you, shift the lens, build the personal brand first. It will raise the business, but it is also permanent and de-risks everything. And that needs to be something, and this is why I told my story so dramatically now. I feel this in my nervous system. I feel this in my whole body, that this is so true, and I want you to be as leveraged as possible while also being as protected as possible, right? Even from a reputation perspective. I have so many YouTube videos and pieces of content and community and feedback out there right now. If somebody is trying to discredit my reputation right now, they'll have a really, really hard time, right? So it de-risks you from so many angles. It helps you to not be misunderstood or boxed in, right? It gives you so much of a safety when things are happening. And talking about the nervous system, early on in my career, I also had a shitstorm happening to me because somebody didn't understand what a swipe file is, and that was really scary. Like when you suddenly have like hundreds of comments and they're coming in faster than you can type a reply, and people hating you, and you're like, what is even going on? I was able to turn that situation back then around, right? Because I've also been exposed to shitstorms, etc., in my past for other companies that I've worked with. So I was able to tap into the grounding and the insights that I had there. But it could have also gone in a completely different direction if I wouldn't have had that. But nowadays, if something like this happens to me, so many people are stepping in and be like, no, that's Evelyn, you're getting this wrong. Here's what you're misunderstanding. Look at all of the things that she does, which happens multiple times, right? So it's also really, really protecting you from all of the misunderstandings people can have about you online, um, damages to your reputation. Okay. Have I established enough personal brand over business? If I have, please put brand in the chat. Just drop it. I want you to make that mark in your mind. Brand over everything. Your personal brand over everything. Please, please. I need you to take this in, as your life and business depend on it, because they totally do. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, I cannot overstate this. Brand over everything. I want you to be leveraged. I want you to be protected. Do you have prompts or something to get you through the work resisting having a personal brand? I can give you some things there. And also, what helps with personal brand, if you're really hesitant, is to do exposure therapy and also decide how you want to do it. You can have a faceless personal brand. So, for example, one of my mastermind students, shout out to her, she's one of the loveliest, kindest, competent people I know, Kathy. She has built her whole business and a personal brand faceless, right? So she's nurturing her email list where she is sharing from her journey. She's building her YouTube channel, but all of this is with her voice. So you can also do this faceless. You can do it anonymously. The biggest thing for you would be to investigate, where are my concerns? Where are my fears? What is, a limiting belief that maybe I actually want to overcome, but there's fear, and what is just misaligned with my values, right? So when, for example, when I work with clients, what I notice is when they struggle with that type of visibility, there's always two parts. There's a part that is like, there's a genuine value misalignment for me going out in a certain way, right? And then there is, I'm scared of certain things to happen, right? So then what we do is we work with that fear mapping, understanding, trade-offs, making decisions around that are founded in logic and value alignment, not based on emotional reactivity, right? So that can be brought into integrity. And then the other piece of it is, this does actually not align with my values. So then we map your values and we find a way to work it to assimilate the idea of building a personal brand with your version of execution, right? So that's the core of it. There's a version of execution that's aligned with you, and there's a part of you that just doesn't know what that alignment can look like, and there's certain fears, limiting beliefs, etc., to be handled, to be mapped, to either be accepted, right, or to be risks to be managed. And that's the truth of it. I can definitely work out something for you guys like this because I'm doing this type of work a lot one-to-one. So thank you so much for bringing it up. Honestly, I don't think so, because you can still productize your experience. And for example, in that case that I just gave you, we work a lot with self-liquidating offers, right? So you can very much still use the method that I'm teaching you here to create the right experience-based products that still build the right perception of your personal brand and help you to leverage it long term. So it's not a contradiction. I'm so grateful that you're asking this as well, because I think that's a concern for many people. I have a stationary business that was faceless for ages, but I've noticed a bit more engagement on social since I started showing my face a bit. It's a huge lever with your face, but there's different ways we can also, make it more personal without showing the face, if that's something you want to avoid. So how far you want to, how transparent you really want to be with all of the things is definitely a highly personal decision. I've experienced twice that my audience was still there after months of absent childbirth stress, and felt so grateful knowing it was because of the trust and the connection I had already built. It's so beautiful. It never fully goes away. It's so incredible. It's such a gift that I really want to have for everyone. What about a situation where you're building two totally different things? I'm a coach and building a wellness hub, but I also work with a group of guys on AI. So we want to build a faceless brand. So I would say you still report as the founder about both of these opportunities, and you share your experience and your values from both of these opportunities. So you take the seat back and you're like, okay, I have these things. So this is exactly the crux, right? That people have is like, I have this thing and I have this thing. So what do I build my personal brand about? No. You build your personal brand. And from that seed of my personal brand, the person I'm becoming, you report about this business and what you're learning there and what you're doing there and the things that are valuable in that context. And from this. And naturally, you're attracting an audience of one for this brand that totally gets that overlap and thinks you're the coolest person on the planet because you're doing all of that stuff. Okay. So, I do school and media buying and personal development work and creating physical products. And there are people like, this is exactly what I want to do. Or they're like, oh, wow, she's cool. She has a lot of things going on. This is what I really love about her. Right. So it's just taking the right seed of perspective from where you are reporting. Okay, we're going through this. So let me just quickly jump back in, and of course I'm going to answer all of your questions after as well. So I see there's a lot of questions, right? I want to, before I answer those, because they are there in the brand framework, address the challenge, right? So building a brand that you can sustain and that excites you and energizes you is a real challenge, especially for years, right? So fifth year of me doing this, and I already had quite a few wobbles. So what I've learned is every personal brand persists, but the question is if you can sustain it. And if you base it on your current self, you'll outgrow it quickly and you will feel boxed and stuck. That's what happened to me when my brand started to really solidify around mini memberships and helping people grow their coaching business with low ticket offers, right? So when my personal brand was strongly associated with Coach Growth Hub, mini memberships, building businesses through low ticket offers, it was taking off really quickly, right? Because it was definitely product to market fit right there. But long term, to only talk about this was not sustainable for me because the market was changing and I was changing as well. I saw school, right? So I was like, the market is changing. I need to get on top of it. So I did my due diligence to investigate it. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening here? I'm loving this. And it changes the way I see things and it changes the way I want to run my business. And now I have built this persona, but I'm like, you're so small. And I feel so constrained and uninspired, and I don't know what to do, right? So building from the current self, very quickly outdated, even if it gives you momentum in the moment. If you base it only on what you think the market wants, right? So now it's the bigger thing is like, okay, so this is kind of changing. People don't want that anymore, but maybe they want school right now. So I could reposition myself as an expert for school. Why not? Because I now play the school games and everybody I see, even, people doing school masterclass, and this is working so well. I could just now help all of the people with school. Well, then again, I would replicate first of the same constraint. And second off, I would tie myself to what the market wants, and that would be performative. I don't want to be like all about school. It's cool and all, but I'm so much bigger, right? And I don't want to constrain myself again. And I want to keep growing. And I don't want to tie myself to what the market wants right now because it will change. I've experienced it, right? So if you tie it to your current self, it's boxed. If you tie it to the market, it's risky and it's also constrained and it's also going to be boxed really, really soon. It can't grow with you. What I found is the only way, the only foundation that you can sustainably have is a brand that is based on who you want to be, your future role model self, the most actualized version of yourself, and your journey towards that person. That's what keeps you energized. And that, because it's ever evolving, there's no end to it. There's a constant, beautiful expansion that synergetically gobbles up all of those things that naturally excites you, that you want to be better at, that you see that you still need to grow at, that you like people helping with. They suddenly, like, it just gobbles it up. And as it eats it, it gets bigger and more expansive and more fulfilling and more round. So that's why building personal brand based on who you truly want to be, that best, fully, most actualized version of yourself that's ever evolving because it's a reaching goalpost, right? That's the only thing that's truly sustainable. Okay, so a role model self is not only truly sustainable, it's also super magnetic. Why? Because it's congruent. Your words, your actions, your values align in real time. People can feel the integrity. I love integrity because what it actually means is it's not people think it has something to do with ethics or doing the right thing, etc. Integrity means that you are whole. It means that you are acting out of what's fully true for you. So you're not, it's not about ethics, it's about congruency. And I think that's so, so powerful. And, even people that are doing things where you might be like, I wouldn't do it like that, right? They can sometimes be massively attractive to you, as in, I'm looking up to them. I want to be in their sphere. I want to be in their world. And when you really look at it, it's because they are in full integrity. Who they say they are is who they are, aligns with what they do. they are whole, and that congruence is so rare, so scarce, that it naturally draws us to it. For you, it's very energizing as well, right? When your brand is built from who you actually want to be, right, it fuels you instead of draining you, because it's inspiring and aspiring you in the best way possible. You can be present, consistently showing up with that energy, with that clarity, and with that momentum, and that sets you apart from people who burn out and disappear and go quiet. I've experienced this with people very close in my circle, been on the journey with me, been able to build the business to 10K monthly recurring revenue, had great income spikes, but because the personal brand she tried to build was coming from, I want to build what the market wants because I want to grow my business, she's never been able to sustain it consistently. So there's these big energy sprints and launches or new offers and projects, things hit off. And then when she's at that point, she just can't sustain it and burns it down. And I believe that it's because she's still asking, what does the market want? And not, who do I want to be and how do I monetize and productize that journey? It's super aspirational, right? This is why it makes it so attractive as well. You embody the future version of your audience's potential. They see themselves and what's possible in you without pedestaling you, right? Because you're communicating, I'm still not perfect, I am trying to become this good version, but I'm on the journey and I'm constantly messing up, and here's what I'm learned. You don't have to have all the answers. So all of that pressure, and I wish I knew this earlier, so one of the regrets that I have is like, you don't have to have the answers. You're like, well, here's what I'm doing, like this is who I want to be and this is why I'm doing this, and here's just like my experience. Okay, I can help you try to think it through, but I'm also just guessing, right? We're all just making a hypothesis here, putting it to action, looking at the data, and then try to improve it, right? So that takes off a lot of pressure from you. At the same time, it still is very inspiring for your audience. It still draws them to you, although you don't have to be perfect, right? The embodiment is something that's super attractive, extremely magnetic. Over time, right, as you keep walking and keep sharing and keep documenting, your life itself becomes evidence that your principles work. You are the living proof, living case study, how I always like to call it in the past. That embodiment compounds with every choice, every day, every year, every result. And when you are the evidence, people trust you on a whole nother level that words alone could never earn. I am at that point in my business where I can sell everything without needing product to market fit, right? Product to market fit is the ultimate cheat code for growing a business fast, right? But it is very hard to find. It's very hard to sustain because you'll have competitors left and right. So it will eventually fade, right? I love bringing people to that point, and I love helping them, maximize how they can capitalize on that downhill ride of product to market fit. But I always need them to know it's a window in time. And the ultimate long-term goal is to build that personal brand, because then you don't need product to market fit anymore. And I can prove it easily to you. Alex Hormozi could sell a washing machine right now. If he says, I'm convinced of that, blast an email to his audience and let them know, like, I can't explain to you why, but I tell you, you need this washer and dryer. People will be like, okay, Alex, I know, because I trust you, right? Because you're the embodiment of things that make sense. And obviously also because he is in full integrity, he would only recommend things that would not harm his personal brand, right? And that he genuinely believes are worth recommending. Okay, so let's solidify this: business versus personal brand versus founder-led brand. Your business is a vehicle that sells products and services. It's flexible, ideally profitable, but it also is temporary. Your personal brand is the lasting perception of you. It's permanent, it's compounding, and the foundation that carries through every business, right? A founder-led personal brand, that's what we're trying to do here, is when the business and the personal brand are woven together. The company's identity flows from the founder's identity. It borrows trust, energy, and magnetism from the founder's personal brand. It's the most magnetic kind of business because it feels human and alive. When you do it right, and I think the right way to approach it, at least the method that worked for me, is the role model approach. It's not just a company and it's not just a brand. It's a living ecosystem where business growth and personal growth feed each other. Okay, so how do we get there? Now we need to talk about leverage because we also talk about scaling. Let me just see. Does it make sense so far? Let me just see. Camille, I've built a pretty big business brand thinking that if I were ever hit by a bus that my daughter would be able to take it over or sell it. You are right, feeling boxed in. And the beautiful thing is if you've already done some epic stuff, the curve for you to actually build that personal brand will be it will be steeper, right? You'll be able to take it off quicker. But thank you so much for confirming that as well. Thank you for sharing. You don't need to have the answers. Who do I want to be and how can I monetize it? Perfect. Okay. So I see you are still with me. So how do we get there? We need to talk about leverage. Okay. Most entrepreneurs in the online education and personal brand space still approach their business in linear terms. 1 hour worked, right? One one-to-one coaching hour, one consulting hour, one, me going in and setting up your ads or designing your ads or writing your sales page is 1 hour of results or a certain amount of payment. One skill that I learn is one application. One relationship I build is one potential customer. $1 I invest is $1 I return. It's natural. It's what I also did when I started out as a business owner, right? So I knew about Facebook ads. My professors were approaching me and said, can you teach me about this? I pay you this much per hour. Can you set it up? I'm willing to pay this, right? Can you manage my ads? I'm willing to pay a retainer. So it was very much tied to if I input more, I output more, right? And that for me was good enough for a certain while. But obviously, we want to scale our business. And when we want to scale, we need a lever, right? Leverage means using one input to produce outsized output in the same domain. Okay, so for example, time leverage. You create a course once, you sell it 1,000 times. You create a self-liquidating offer once, you sell it 1,000 times. You record a workshop or a webinar, and the replay is there for people to educate and enroll. You write an email once, you deliver it to 1,000 people. You have a knowledge leverage. You can turn your framework into client solutions, productize or license the methodology. The knowledge leverage for me is really based on the experience leverage as well. You have a network leverage. You can partner, for example, with an influencer, with a person that has an audience to access their audience, or you can also launch an affiliate program so others can sell for you. Or financial lever, you use an ad campaign to acquire customers at scale. You build funnels so conversions happen automatically, right? So that was me when my online business took off for the first time, right? So I first arbitraged things one-to-one. Then I was pregnant. I was like, how do I get out of this? Well, I need to build a one-to-many thing. I started to build an audience with back then a Facebook group and an email list, kind of tried to kickstart my personal brand as much as possible, just getting out there. I sold a beta program, got the first one-to-one clients. It was still very much one-to-one work right over the course. But as I was doing this work with them, I developed resources and trainings and frameworks that I was then able to put into my first ever membership, first one-to-many container. That was my first time lever. And then I was able to run ads to that. So that was my first financial lever. And that scale was ultimately what got me to 6 figures in the first year and then, to multiple millions relatively quickly, right? So that's the first type of lever. But I didn't understand personal brand. And if I understood it, I could have been much further earlier. The next lever is synergy. So what is that? Leverage is your first breakthrough, right? So leverage lets a single resource drive bigger results. You create once, you sell many times, you build a framework, you license it, you team up for reach, you automate with tools. With leverage, your efforts multiply within their silo, right? Within their domain. When you build synergy, This is when you connect resources across domains. Their combination produces outsized results. Leverage, multiply inside of one lane. Synergy, link the multiplied lanes for exponential compounding. And that's what's happening here. Your business grows faster because the whole outperforms the sum of its parts, right? So synergy is basically meaning you have multiple leveraged areas and you connect all of them, and that's when things really explode. So let me give you a few examples because this is quite abstract and I do acknowledge that. The knowledge plus personal brand synergy. Your expertise alone, you can solve problems. I know how to run ads, you can pay me for that, pretty linear. Your personal story alone, you can connect with people. Combined, you become the go-to expert for people with your specific background, right? So that's your unique selling proposition. So let me maybe even enter the first line leverage, right? So one-to-one direction is I know how to run Facebook ads and I can get paid for it, right? Because I'm doing that work for a client. I know how to run Facebook ads and I can record a training for that and sell that training at scale. I am leveraged, right? I build a personal brand around how to run Facebook ads based on my story for somebody who wants to build a personal brand with low ticket items and memberships. Boom. Nobody can compete with me because I have the leveraged delivery plus this extremely unique brand story where, there's no second person right now on this planet that has this specific experience that, because of my underlying values, resonates with so many people, right? I'm a market of one with a solution for a very specific customer. No, it's extremely leveraged because it's very synergetic. Okay. Another example is content plus community synergy. Content alone, people consume and leave, right? A community alone, people connect, but they lack direction. Combined, the content creates community discussions. The community validates the content as well, right? As in the sense of, so how do I do this and how do I do that? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to record a video on how to do retargeting ads on school because I have a gap here that I didn't see, right? Together, they create compound engagement, right? So you know what to do. They'll ask you for it. You post it back. They help each other out with it. And they generate user-generated content around the content that you create while you can create better content. And that got paired with the direction that your content gives and the connection that the community gives compounds to massive engagement, a body of work that goes beyond you doing the work. I've never done less work than I'm currently doing in Grow with Evelyn. It's absolutely insane. And my churn is the lowest that I had in all of the memberships so far. And it is because of that synergy arising, right? It creates that retention and it creates this thing that suddenly starts to do all of this work by itself, right? And it also gives you work to do. It's like, we need this. Okay, I can do this. Here you go. And then they keep working it further, right? And suddenly it's this whole beautiful ecosystem where the sum is so much bigger than its parts. And you facilitated it, your personal brand holds and leverage it, but the burden is off of you. So you're freed to do more things, right? And you do better things because you have all of that insight. So ultimate full-on compounding synergy here. Coaching and course synergy, wanted to give an example that is also understandable for people who have not had community. Coaching alone, limited to your hours and custom solutions. Course alone, scalable, but it's generic, right? And it's hard to sell. Now combined, the course handles the common issues, leverage on your time, right? Better experience for your clients, because the coaching can then focus on their specific situation and again leverage what they have learned in the course and help them troubleshoot and overcome issues. Together, they increase the transformation, the profitability of it, and the marketability of it. Profitability of it because you can take out your time, so you can take on more, right? And marketability of it because your client understands that it gets them a better transformation, right? It's more in demand that way. So that's a synergy right there. The specific synergy that I want you to establish in your business after this presentation is the identity plus role model synergy. Okay. Your personal growth alone, it feels good, but it doesn't pay the bills, right? And this is, I think, the misconception people have is like, I need to grow my business to that point, and then I have time to do all of the things for myself that I want to do. And I'm gonna do yoga, and then I'm gonna sleep in, and then I'm gonna, go through these retreats. It's like, no, you can do it, or can already do it, right? Building a business alone, it makes money, but it doesn't fulfill a deeper purpose. Combined, business structure requires identity evolution. Identity evolution unlocks business opportunities. Together, they create sustainable, scalable success with meaning. That's pretty nice, right? So that's what I was after, because I was like, how long can I do this? This needs to be actually pretty meaningful, and this also needs to be leveraged, because otherwise I don't like doing things that I just have to keep doing, right? So there needs to be an overarching incentive for me to make it feel really rewarding to do it. Okay, so something that I discovered earlier, and then time and time again, I discovered it actually through testing messaging on my Facebook ads. And I understand it deeper with every day that I'm running it, and every resource I create around it, and every video where I talk about it. Um, Monetizing your personal growth journey is the ultimate key, because you build a business of one for a market of one by building the person you wanted to become anyways. You're trying to become this version of yourself anyway, in the sense of you try to have this lifestyle, you try to have this health, you try to have these relationships, you try to look like this, you try to eat like that. You want to create these memories, right? You want to do that anyways, so just do it in public, so you don't have to delay it, but you actually can start it right away. When you do that, right, when that's your approach to business, when that's your lens and your frame of reference, when that's your operating system, your challenges become your competitive advantage. The specific problems, and another word for problem is an unfulfilled desire that I have, right? So I do have the desire to set better boundaries and do, most of my work that energizes me is not necessarily a problem, right? But it's a desire, it's a preference I have, right? So, and getting to that preference, bridging that where I am right now and where I want to be. That's literally, did you know the definition of problem is what is that not does not equal what you want to be? So that's the definition of problem, right? And so the beautiful thing is when you put that goalpost in the past and you're like, here I'm right now, you have all of these beautiful problems to solve. And guess what? Other people want these problems solved as well, so they can pay you for having your solution, right? So that they don't have to invest the time, exude the creative effort, have the cognitive burden. They can just consume your experience. And so it's a good deal for them, and it's a good deal for you. It's the ultimate win-win, right? So the specific problems you solve through your personal growth become the exact problems your business addresses, creating solutions that emerge from your lived experience rather than theory, right? The public evolution builds a unique market position, openly working through real challenges and towards the better version of yourself while building your business creates authentic differentiation, trust, and audience investment in your journey across any industry, right? And so let me give you an example. For example, one of the people I adore is Laura Porty. She is also a Facebook ad expert, right? And her methods work. And I'm also, to a certain degree, a Facebook expert, and my methods work. Both of our methods are completely different, right? They both solve the same problem. They even use the same vehicle of the solution, which is Facebook ads. But because both Laurel and I solved for what we needed, our solutions are so different that they'll never compete with each other. And in fact, they're highly compatible and they leverage each other. How beautiful is that, right? Because her vehicle has been video and she solved that completely for her. And my vehicle has been image and offer first, and I'm solving for that. It's so cool because I'm having more of a direct response approach and she has more of a pipeline approach, but both work in synergy, but because they also naturally evolved and there's so much documentation about our processes out there, there's never any question, right? And so we both have ecosystems that work completely, but completely different from each other. So we naturally and completely differentiated, and even additive to each other, right? Which is so beautiful, which is what happens when people build like this. There's a real solution for people, and then some people gravitate natural towards her approach, and some gravitate natural towards my approach, right? And there's no harm in that, and both can be a starting point, and then some, you can go there once you learn more and you can add to that. So it's also not that people pick one or the other. It's just like what entry point resonates more with them. So it completely erases any form of scarcity or competition thinking that you might have in your head. Scalable success becomes sustainable, right? So your business structure reinforces your desired habits, your personal breakthroughs, you unlock revenue opportunities, and your development work doubles as business development, right? So you make money becoming who you want to become and build standout personal brand. So making money becoming who you want to become and building a standout personal brand. And so I think I messed this sentence up. Let me just say what I tried to say. The activity of you making money and building a standout personal brand and becoming the person that you want to be, they basically become the same activity. And this is why there's so much synergy, because most people build their business and they build their personal brand, and then they work on themselves, right? And their lifestyle and who they want to be in their relationships, etc. They work on all of those things in silo. When you can work on all of these things together in synergy, saves you massive amount of time, and all of those leveraged areas compound. Okay, now your destination and your guide. How do you do this, right? So you need to know where you headed, and you also need to know how you get there. And the answer for both is your role model self. So let me explain. When I talk about your North Star, it is actually that version of yourself that you want to become. That is your destination. Naming and cultivating a vision for your role model self gives you a clear concept for it, right? So I have in my head a version of the highest, most actualized version of Evelyn that is within reach right now, right? As far as I can dream, as big as I can put her, I have that version of Evelyn in my head. And with that concept of her that I have externalized her, right? And that creates cognitive distance between Evelyn today and that version of myself, right? And because I've done this in my mind, right, and in written format as well, I now have an object of consciousness that is in the distance, right? It is in my mind, it is in the future, and it's separate from me and it's away. So now what I naturally have emerging is a gap that I can close, right? So, and I also have a direction. I know where I'm oriented at. I know, most people also do this. They exude effort in this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, and all they do is actually spinning their wheels and going in circles. And the problem is that they don't have the distant point in the future that they want to work towards, because when they do that, they can, and it's never linear. We're all not that good with our hypothesis, but it's like hypothesis, check in, did it bring me closer? Oh no, I need to readjust. Hypothesis, check in, hypothesis, right? So that's why you're much more efficient, because you have that distant point and you have a direction. So you can, when you have a direction, you can focus your efforts. When you have no direction, or a direction that's too small, like, oh, I need to make more money, right? It's like you actually don't know where you're moving. So this is why this is so important, that version of yourself, conceptualized, externalized, it gives you a point in the distance that's your direction. And at the same time, because you are here right now, it opens up a gap. So it gives you a path to walk. And those are the things that we need. Okay? Destination, direction, and a path. So we can move focused towards something and unlock that synergy. Now, at the same time, this person there, now I'm going to take my camera thingy. This person there is also your guide for that journey. And that's the most beautiful thing. Your role model self is not only the destination, but it's also the inner mentor that you can consult. By externalizing it, you create a trusted perspective of your current, that's outside of your current emotions and desires and fears and scarcities and all of your smallness that you might have in that moment. I have a lot of smallness. Like, I can be very small minded, very reactive, very triggered, very scared version of myself. But I do have her, and I can ask her what to do. Okay. You can ask, your own myself, what do I do? And receive receive answers direct rooted in your highest standards, right? The standards that you defined when you were in a clear and conscious and aware state. This guidance helps you to make aligned choices in the present, even when the path feels uncertain, right? So it's like, because you're creating this object of consciousness, when you are very aware and you have a working hypothesis of it, you can holler it and you can be like, I'm here and I'm lost and I'm fighting with my husband and I don't know how to get out of the situation. And she can say, you need to regulate your emotions and actually need to understand what triggered you and where you were coming from with this. And then you need to write things down, because you cannot just yell, and then you need to sit down and then you need to actually listen, because you need to remember that you're optimizing for connection and not to be right. Right. So I know all of these things. And it's, again, Alex Hormozi quote is like, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. You just need to be reminded, right? You already know those things. There is this version of yourself in you. You just need to be reminded of that. So creating that guide for yourself is even if that path is uncertain, you can holler it and you can be like, what should I do? And you actually get a surprisingly good answer, right? And it is also a counterpart, and I cannot stress this enough, and filter for seeking external advice, facilitating assimilation, and helping to prevent costly opportunity and shiny object hopping. So one reason why this is so important to me is because I've had this weird dichotomy between, admiring role models, right? And learning from others and seeking external help, and wanting to only figure everything out myself. And the reason is, when I did that very incompetently. So when I was looking at a mentor, somebody I admired, I glorified them, I pedestaled them, and I was like, I want to be exactly like them, just to follow more and start to implement, to be like, holy cow, yes, they are in full integrity, but my version of integrity looks very different, and their values and mine don't always align. So I cannot do it the way that they do, right? And for me to be able to assimilate from different people and make it a path that I can walk in integrity with who I am, I needed to understand that. I needed to have that part that said that helps me understand what are those actual values of that fully actualized version of myself, so I can map against what they're doing and say, okay, from those mentors, I extract the underlying core principles, and I will say, how do I execute those in an experiment in the real world in a way that is in alignment with my values? Because only that is something I A, can do, and B, if I can force myself to do it, because I'm like, just have to follow the plan, which I, for example, did with my mastermind, right? I was just, I will just follow what I am being told and I'm going to make it happen. And I made it happen, but because I was just following what I was told to do, and I didn't question and understand the underlying values and how they're different from mine, I built something where I was looking at it and I was like, I cannot sustain this. I love this and I love the people, but the way I've set this up right now, I cannot sustain this. So I needed to go back and I'd be like, yo, Evelyn, what should we do? Like, I know you've had it figured out. So what do we need to do? And future Evelyn said, even if it might destroy it, you need to set a boundary around what's realistic for you and what's healthy for you and what's joyful for you and what you can sustain long term. And then it helped me to say, like, okay, we need to regulate our nervous system around saying that, because we have childhood trauma from telling people no. And, but so, and by the way, trauma work, right? There's a limit to what you can do with yourself. So when it crosses those boundaries, please use your discernment, right? And seek external help. So this is not a call for saying I can figure out everything by myself because I now have my role model self. No, it's just having that inner authority as a competent filter and remind yourself to consult and not trying to model off of others, because nobody will be able to see what you're trying to achieve, especially not if you have not investigated that. And nobody's journey will be like your most fully actualized own journey. So we want that authority as a control instance, right? As another eye on what we're seeing. Okay, so we don't run too far into the wrong direction, right? We can make a hypothesis, so it's good to readjust as quickly as possible, but that's a person to consult 100%. Okay. So why my role model self business method, what my role model self business method actually solves, right? So when I boil it down to the essence, you probably know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Drop a yes in the chat if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I want to see if you guys are familiar with that concept or not. Thank you so much, love. Amazing to build relationship with product. Realized yesterday that I can't work all hours. Yes. Okay, so everybody familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of need? Perfect. Okay. Love it. Thank you so much for letting me know. So then I'm just gonna gloss over it. I also had that when I studied marketing. So there it was presented as a motivational theory, right? So it was basically saying, what are people motivated to do or buy? And what Maslow said is, we first want to get our physiological needs fulfilled, right? So air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction, So when we have those things at least fulfilled to a certain like minimal threshold, we care about safety, like our personal security, our resources, our property, employment, our health, right? So this also is, I think, a really beautiful point to explain why people, when they're in scarcity mindset to make money in their business, why they cannot do anything, because they like literally they're in survival mode, right? They cannot think longer than Tuesday. That is not going to happen, right? So you need to get yourself out of that. Then we have love and belonging, friendships, family, intimacy, sense of connection, community. And then we have esteem, right? Respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom. And at the very, very top, once we have everything reached at a certain threshold, then we have self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities, right? So what I want you to do, and what the beautiful thing that I've been able to unlock is, I'm not waiting, right? I get all of these things because I'm self-actualizing all the way, right? So self-actualization is my vehicle to fulfilling all of these needs. So what it allows you to do is no more delay, no more delaying the pursuit of your full potential and the creation of your legacy. I deeply believe I'm a creator at heart, and I believe that when I work, I'm spiritual. I'm also religious to a certain point, and very open for all religions and all beliefs, right? And I'm spiritual, and I swear, I've never said this like this explicit before. When I create, I am not creating. Something is working through me, and I am just a vessel. And it's the most beautiful state of being. I feel so fulfilled and happy. And after I'm exhausted and I look at it, I'm like, thank you. That was so, I feel like I'm doing something purposeful and meaningful, and it fills my cup, and when I know I'm gonna die and this stuff will be around, I'm like, I go out like with a bang. I'm proud. Like I'm like, I did something with this time, right? I did something like have you ever looked up how little the chances of you being born versus you winning the lottery? What's the chances of you being born versus winning the lottery? Chances of you being born as a unique individual are estimated about 1 in 400 trillion, while the odds of winning the largest lottery is like Powerball, 1 in 300 million. Okay, so just to see the difference. Okay, if I was to count to, and even if every number just took me 1 second, how long would I need to count? Just putting things in perspective for you, okay? If counting to 400 trillion with 1 second per number, it would take about 12.7 million years. How many lifetimes is that? I am a woman in my 30s. Counting to 400 trillions would take me 152,000 lifetimes. That's the odds of you being born, right? I want to do something meaningful, guys. I don't know about you, but I want to do something meaningful, and I don't want to delay, because we only have one short lifetime to do this. With my approach, you can start making it a priority today, and it will synergetically help you fulfill all your other needs faster. I would say that's a good deal. It's a win-win also, not only for you, because that stuff that you do, it's also going to help others. Deal? Can we already? Like, how many more logical arguments do you need from me? Okay? Have more. When you do this, you also solving brand for good. Okay, so all of these questions that you had in the beginning, so I know it's a problem, and I know it's a problem also from my own journey, you can solve this with this role model business approach, and I'm going to show you how. Okay, so what are your core values in business? The value of your values of your future model self. I'm going to show you how to extract it for ChatGPT, right? It's super simple. What's your vision and mission? Vision is the future self that you are becoming. Your mission is walking that path in public while helping others with the things that you have or are actively figuring out. That's your vision and mission. Your brand promise. Also, your brand promise is built in. I'll show you what it looks like to walk towards the best version of myself so you can walk towards yours. Your audience is soft. Your audience is the past and future versions of yourself. Whoever resonates with at least parts of your past and or future self or trajectory is automatically your market. Differentiation. All those struggles and desires may be shared. Nobody has the same starting and end point as you, and nobody walks the path the way you do. You are a market of one. Differentiation solved. There are no competitors, right? Personality and voice. Instead of inventing tone, your natural expression as that self is your brand voice. Authenticity, transparency, integrity, and congruence create that magnetism. Check, done, right? Story and origin. The brand story is becoming, here is where I was, here is where I'm headed, here is what I'm learning along the way. Stories solved. Visual identity. Visual style flows from the aesthetic of the role model, self, life, and choices. You can see mine evolving in real time, right? And it works. People like it. It sells, right? It becomes a reflection of who you are becoming. Content creation. Content is simply documenting the journey towards the role model self. Wins, struggles, tools, reflection become ready-made posts, videos, and lessons. You don't have to think about which channel for what topic. You just throw it out there. You are in that perspective, right? And it levers what you do in here, and it opens you up all of those future possibilities. You don't have to overthink it anymore. And you can be all over the place and still make total sense, which is so cool, right? Which will erase that feeling of being boxed in. It will erase the blank page problem, and it also erases the creator burnout. Brand solved, guys. I've been trying to solve this for a long time, and I've been able to. It's really that easy, and it's so natural. And all of that constructing, all of that weight, all of that baggage, it just falls away. There's no more overthinking, because the role model self-based business comes with a built-in branding framework that solves itself. No more analysis paralysis. Plus, you never run out of content, offers, or growth because your role model self is moving. It's a moving goalpost that guides you for as long as you want to be active in your career or life. I think, I don't know about you, but I want to keep learning and growing and producing, like, maybe not in that rate or maybe in a different way, but and I want to keep creating till the day I die, because it's like one of the most beautiful things to spend my time here. How do you want to spend your time? I love doing that, right? And especially if it comes from a place of full abundance and I don't have to, I get to do this. So um you could in your career, which is probably much longer with this approach because you do what you actually love, right? So that's the whole point. You're able to do much more of the things that just feel nice, that you just wanted to do anyways, in a version of yourself that you just wanted to become anyways. So one point I need to also drive home is why your role model self is your first, last, and ultimate mentor. Inner leadership is the foundation. A strong personal brand and business requires you to lead yourself before you can lead others. And others feel that about you, right? When you have a rich inner world, when you are somebody who is guided from within, well, first off, you produce a lot of new knowledge. So you're actually adding to the world, right? But then also people can feel that. And again, it draws people in, right? And how can you lead people if you can't lead yourself? Right. So, and I'm not saying I'm perfect in leading myself, but I'm saying I'm making a consistent effort. And the level to which I'm mastering this also is reflected in the level to which I can lead others. So the better I get at directing and guiding and mentoring myself, the better I get at doing the same for others. Competitive edge. Most people rely only on outside advice. Few cultivate their abilities to mentor themselves, and that makes you not only stand out, but also creates more IP and leverage, right? So I said it adds to the body in the world, right? And if, I know some of you are like, that's nice, but I'm not a charity, right? It's like, that's your intellectual property that you can license. One of the biggest levers we have as personal brands is that we are building things that we can license. And one of the business ventures that I have, some of you might know it, is Secret Web and PLR. That's already a licensing business. And I'm going even more in my business in that I've sold white label solutions in the past. I'm going even more in my business of providing access to my frameworks in a license in a licensable way, because people love that and it actually solves a problem for them and it gets my teachings out further, right? And as I will retire from being so active out there, I'm just going to lean more and more into the licensing model. I even started a business for that, Brilliance License, that already is selling trainings and everything as in the IP. IP is a huge leverage for you, right? And it's all found in the self-mentoring, in the within. There it's truly unique and it's truly additive. It's not something constructive. It's actually really, really practical and very genuine. Amplifies external mentors, right? So when you can self-mentor, you can filter outside advice through your role model self. So your guidance becomes sharper, more aligned, and more actionable. Really important. I don't want to diminish external mentors. And I think especially if you do a lot of work, for example, for yourself, also researching with AI, etc., you always want to have checks in place. You want to be part of a community where peers are helping you, where you have a mentor. I do believe there is great value in, having somebody who is where you want to be, consult you and give you advice, etc. But again, that inner authority needs to be your guard as well, right? Just as much as you need to have those relationships that hold you. Thinking about the guy that killed his mother because ChatGPT told him to do that. Be embedded in community, be embedded, have strong relationships. If you feel things are not going well, like, go to a licensed counselor, therapist, etc. Seek help, but definitely also have that inner leadership and don't take everything on. Don't, because can be a huge problem, right? So I see it also from that sustainability point. And even for the lovely person that I thought about when I told you, she's always trying to build her brand based on what she thinks is in demand rather than from the inside. I believe she took a lot of the things that I do as like directly, I just want to do what she does because it's working for her, but because she doesn't have that inner filter or it's not cultivated enough, she does a lot of things that are just not sustainable and in alignment, and so it doesn't work for her, right? consistency through change. External mentors come and go, but your role model self is evolving with you, right? So the people you follow or learn from, they can often take directions where you're like, oh, whoa, this is not for me anymore, right? Or maybe they get having a baby, or maybe, I don't know, they're not running the cohort, or maybe they filled up with the one-to-one. And what can happen is that there are these relationships that are kind of codependent. And I don't want that for you. I want you to never feel like without a mentor. And because that ultimate version that you want to be also is the only one that knows exactly what you're trying to do, that's also your ultimate mentor. And then again, I already talked about that magnetic presence, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. Let me know before I share with you exactly how I mentor myself and we get a bit more hands-on. Does it make sense for you so far? All of that good? Logical? Concerns? I take them. Peter Sage called these stages to me, victim, by me, most entrepreneurs doing still exhaustion, through me, as you described, Evelyn, as me, unity, oneness. That's beautiful. I need to check him out. Peter Sage. That makes a lot of sense. You know how I find it so interesting, right? So in the beginning, I talked about Russell and the expert secrets, and also I think Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer is really good. Who else did I mention? Oh yeah, Gary Vee. There are these underlying core truths, and you kind of have to find it for yourself to be like, oh, I get it now. And then you find your own words to express the same, right? So I think it's no coincidence that people keep finding the same treasures as they experience it. And then everyone can assimilate and can express it in their own words. But I need to check him out for sure. Love creating things, and sometimes I feel like I'm in my spiritual zone. Yes. Creativity is a gift from a source. Thank you for seeing that, guys. That's 100%. Mentor myself as a Christian, I ask God to be my CEO and he guides me each day. That's absolutely beautiful. And I think, if that's your belief system, etc., there's an absolute argument for that. And my spiritual high self takes the advice into consideration. I just wanted it to be a frame that everybody can conceive no matter where their stance is. Totally finding treasures that explain the same truth. Yeah. All right. So, you guys, let me just quickly share with you how I self consult. So, basically, the first step in self consulting is to build up that awareness that I have the source within, right? So, the first thing that I really want you to do is maybe you can find something. I always have a coin that my son likes to steal. It's a moon coin that I got from my husband. But I just show it with another token right now. Maybe you can find a token that represents the future self, and you can place it somewhere where it's really visible for you, as long as you need it to be trained that entity is there, right? So I think it's really the first step is really creating awareness that you have that mentor. And a hack that I used, and I don't need it anymore right now, but for you in the beginning, it might be really helpful, is to have a token, to have that external representation, right? And then I remind myself that it's here for me in the different stages of that I use to grow my business. So I grow my business using the scientific method, right? So hypothesis, action, debrief, and adjustment. And so you can also see this as vision, like clarity, action, debrief, and adjustment. So I always go in these circles. Also because I shared with you, right? So when I have this end point, when I know my direction and I'm exuding focused effort towards that direction, that's the only way for me to move structurally, right? It's like, okay, this is it. My hypothesis is in this area, I'll be able to move towards this if I do X. I do X. That moved me in these regards towards it, but this I need to adjust. Move, 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 right? So these 3 steps is how I move. I make the hypothesis, I gather the experience, I look at what I did, and I'm like, how did it move me? What adjustments are necessary? next move, next move, next move. And that becomes like really, really efficient. Okay. So in the vision, it helps me with identity and positioning, my capabilities and assets, my operating system, my contributions and values. So for example, when you're unclear of who you're becoming, right? When you're deciding what skills, IP, or strengths to build your business on, when you're designing how your day flows, your routines, your energy, your boundary, when you're clarifying who you serve, what impact you create, and what will outlast you, right? So this is when I'm consulting. This is who we need to talk to, right? Then when I action, the decisions I make, right? When facing forks that could be defining your trajectory, what offers do I create? What clients do I want to serve? What collaborations do I say yes to? What collaborations do I say no to? What business model adjustments or business model foundation do I need to set up? Execution, when choosing whether to stick with habits or intentions that I set, ship content or structure work versus busy work. Resilience, when I have self-doubt, when I procrastinate, when I feel overwhelmed or I'm threatened to derail my momentum, that's when I know to consult her. And when I debrief, when I make improvements, right? When the system breaks or I lose consistency, when patterns or lessons emerge that clarify my philosophy and my growth path, right? So when I need insight, leverage when translating my growth into products, content, messaging, etc. All of those are moments when I co-create with her and when I consult her and when I'm like, how do we need to do this? The steps that I like to take is I try to locate myself, right? So because I'm aware that this is my flow, I'm like, okay, what am I trying to do right now? Like what am I actually doing here as in working on myself? Like is this even on the roadmap? Like or did this person just message me and now I feel bad saying no and suddenly I do things where I'm like with a lot of talking myself into it, I can see how it potentially can contribute to the journey, right? But I actually I should say no, right? So locate, is this on the journey, right? If it is on the journey, where is it on the journey? Because that also helps me to pick the right tools. So is what's in front of me a part of the journey, or do I need to cut it off, right? Do I need to be like, do I need to have a hard conversation, or do I need to reset, right? So even with this content, at multiple points, as when I was creating this, I was like, is this on the journey, or is this just something that is interesting and you like it because yes, you find the truth in it, and you kind of want to blurt it out, but it's kind of too far to justify it, right? So even then I'm like, is this on the journey? Where, and if this is on the journey, I need to be able to articulate, where is this on my journey? Does this fit in? Because a lot of lever is actually found in elimination. A lot of your time is consumed by you, yes, creating, but it doesn't fit in. And it's fine if you're like, I create for nervous system regulation. That's completely fine. I like to then ask myself, is like, can I do this more synergetically, right? And if not, can me making the conscious choice to not make this synergy, but then just reporting from why I need to make the conscious choice, can that be the thing, right? So there's always synergy when you look under the hood, but I need to be aware of it, right? I need to be like, where does it fit in to my journey? So I can see how I need to self-consult, and I can also find like, is there a way to do this that creates levers on all end? Okay. And I will always ask myself this. And this is one thing that you guys constantly ask me about. It's just that I've trained myself for scanning for it. How can I do this in a way that adds more efficiency? So for example, even for this, I created this for the role model labs because I readjust the positioning, right? So this is the foundation for the course that I'll have there. I gave this as a gift to the people in the Grow and Scale Planner community who purchased the gift, because I know that it will be a beautiful foundation for the workshop that we have. And it's also a thank you gift for them waiting patiently, because we got a little bit delayed because we still needed to do the boxes, right? I already, through the work here, found the type of worksheets that would take off tremendous creative burden. And I think I can repurpose this workshop, including those worksheets, with some PLR rights, which pays into my vision for doing more licensing work, as an option offer for when Grow with Evelyn rolls out the tiers and a $7 plan. like, all of this is working together, guys. And this is why I get so much stuff done, because I'm like, where does it fit in? How can I make it fit? How can I make it work for me on all of the ends? Because I like it. That's nice, right? When it works for you on all of the ends. You need to locate on the journey. Then you want to capture the problem holistically, right? So it's like, okay, so this is the challenge, here's the problem, here's the kind of what is, here's what I'm trying to do. And I always like to voice record myself and just talk it out, right? And like, oh, this is not making it. So I'll just ramble. It doesn't even have to be a cohesive stream of consciousness. I just try to talk out the situation as much as I can and record myself, so I have a transcript. That's the capture element. I love doing that with Loom. I know people love to use different self-recording methods. I find Loom to be the easiest, and then I also have this library of consciousness streams, right? It's data that I can further process. Then I like to select the method, right? And so the method typically is something that for example, I already know, right? So for example, in order to solve this problem in front of me, I need to, from my future self perspective, break this down into messy areas so I have a clearer picture, right? Or from my future self perspective, I need to have a dialogue, right, with her and say, how could we do this, right? Where does this fit in for you? Does that make sense, etc., right? So, or I will be, I actually need to map this visually. So, for example, when I think about this, and there's the core of my future business, and there's the things that are nice to have, is where do I place this, right? So where do I place this right now? And when I'm looking at this worksheet from the eyes of my highest self, where would she place it and why, right? So I try to think like, what's the best vehicle for me to work through this? And the beautiful thing is, because we have ChatGPT, it's so easy to say, I need you to give me a vehicle to work through this, right? So literally what I will do is, just to give you a very, very quick example of this. Okay, so I just finished my workshop around the scaled self, which basically introduces my role model framework as the approach to building your personal business and brand in synergy. And now I want to repurpose it, and I need to write the sales page. And before that, I kind of want to break it down on a spectrum so I know how I need to position that so I get a maximum number of people that are a good fit for my current audience, but also for where I want to take my business. And I'm trying to find the right modality to work this through with the help of the highest version of myself, so we can really figure this out. Please suggest a few modalities that will help me to work this through, right? So I'm just looking for what's the right modality here. And I do have, like, libraries of, for example, scaffolding techniques, which I really, really love. So it's just, I love when we have name for things. And scaffolding techniques is really the techniques you want to use when you have the knowledge, but you don't really know how to get there, which is why it's so beautiful to use them for monetizing your personal growth journey and figuring out your path, right? Plus, they're also really great to productize because they make things tangible for others. Let me just see here. Right, so I have technique libraries for myself as well. But if you have nothing right now, all you want to do, and I didn't want to give it to you right now in this format because I don't want to overwhelm you, right? I just want to give you an example for how I like to work through these things. Vision casting, reverse mapping, write out in detail what the ideal future version of your business and brand looks like, audience messaging, then reverse engineer the spectrum of people you want alongside. Okay, so because I have done this, and this is the exercise I have for you today as well, I do have the version of my future self mapped out, and I found, after testing all of the things, that a fill in the blank letter from the future self format is the one most people can do quickest, and it gives the most data for further work. right? So I will say, let's do 1. I give you the data. And then for 2, please also give me the questions or a guideline for the inner dialogue. Current self, where you stand right now, voice from the letter. Okay. Perfect. Questioning what excites, I can ask my future self what excites you most about the positioning. Oh, this is for my current self. I ask it. Then I can ask my future self, then my skeptical self, and then all together. Where do we all agree? Where's an actual conflict? Then we have the practical flow. So I can just talk it out. And the crazy thing is, people always think like these are silly little exercises, but the gold you find in those things is incredible. Like I did an example for a video about niching, and I found an SLO idea in that little practice where I was like, holy cow. Like the things you find, you cannot find them with normal thinking because you just don't get out of your box. You always have the same thoughts. And even if you go back and forth with ChatGPT and the brainstorming, you never get out of your pond. But when you use different modalities, they really get you out of your box and you find those things and you're like, oh, what? That was in me. And I think it's so powerful. And it really gets you to next level solutions. So absolutely love this. Right. And then so it did that for me. Now I want to say make a fully filled in, because I also like to, when I'm cognitively lazy, I just like it to do the work for me, right? So what it gave me here was vision casting reverse mapping, using the information I give you, do the reverse mapping for me, so I just have to react to it. Pretend to be me and fill it in to your best abilities with all the data you have. Right? And so it does the worksheet for me, and then I can just react, and I'm like, I would never answer like this because obviously, right? Or, oh yeah, that's good. So, when you do this type of work, I'm always like to be reserve my cognitive load. So I like to outsource as much of the thinking, but then I can use my inner compass and the voice to just react to it. So that's a hack that I really like to use because it allows me to be so fast with these things, right? So I'm living is okay. Identity, my personal core audience now. Personal development junkies who consume endlessly but struggle to integrate. Middle ground, identity to feel congruent, unique self. Okay. Now we have to monetize your growth journey by becoming the role model you're already trying to be. So, for example, now I would be like, so your headline doesn't work because it's too generic, and ultimately we are trying to sell the workshop plus the implementation bundle. So please adjust this. And I'll spend a little bit more time giving it context, right? But it's allowing me to move with those things extremely fast. The scale itself. Stop guessing how to grow your brand, scale it with a proven role model framework. So I think that kind of goes in the right direction, right? And so then I can just work it from there. I just wanted to show you how I'm finding the method, right? And then I like to validate the method. And for validating the method, what you want to do is taking a step back, right? And say, okay, sometimes I like to let it sit, which I also did with this presentation a lot. I was like, okay, because in the moment I can feel like, oh yeah, this is it, this is so good, and then I let it sit, and when I come back a little bit later or next morning, and I'm like reading it again, I'm like, good, but right? And so I like to shape it. I like to validate with my own knowledge, my inner wisdom, my intuition. And I find when you do that work with AI, you need to kind of create that distance as well, take a step back so you hear yourself again, right? Because it can sometimes say things like when you read it quickly and when you're in that full like download and creation mode, um, it can drag you along. But when you read it on the next day, you're like, that's a whole lot of nothing. So just make sure to always validate. And I also like to externally validate it, right? So I like to ask other people. I like to uh, consult with my members, with my mastermind students, with the mentors that I have, just to have an outside perspective. I like to validate with market, right? I love to run ads to things and be like, how good is this really? So that I like to validate against myself, my customers, my allies, peers in business, my mentors, and the market itself, because I don't want to also take myself too serious, right? Because it's like I'm making a working hypothesis and I'm finding the way, just like everyone else. But the more data I can gather, the clearer my vision will be. And that's how I work with myself, right? To solve all of those problems along here. And I'm focused on only doing this work, moving further towards that vision. Okay, so what does it look like in practice? The steps we need to take is scale your identity, get clear on who you need to and want to become, not just what you want to achieve, aka define your personal growth journey, right? So you need to know that, and you need to know your starting point, and that you're working like this now, mentoring yourself all the way up. Engineer alignment, learn to self-consult and use your role model self as the mentor, helping you shape your brand, your offers, your business model to support and accelerate that transformation. Leverage feedback loops. The feedback loops are so important because they make this visible for you. They establish accountability, but that's also where you generate the data to then actually create, right? And when I say create, it's not only your products, it's your content, it's your emails, it's your marketing materials, it's all of the assets in your business. The foundation for those I find in my debriefs. I find in me documenting this journey and helping myself and coaching myself. All of that data is what I leverage to monetize, right? So this is the body of the work, and then I just bring it into the right containers. I have it, and I pour from it into the right container, right? And that consciously walking the path on a daily basis and keeping the feedback loop and the tracking going, that co-evolution is what creates that momentum for both your identity and your business, and then both can expand together. That is the synergy. Or to simplify it, right? So it's so I want to explain this really well, but I also want to be like, so what do I actually do? I do get that clarity as often as I can. I see the relationship with my future ideal self like a marriage. Like I need to cultivate it and make time for it and work on it. And I need to make an effort to explore and get to know and understand this person, right? And I need to consult with them when I make a decision. You know, I'm like, when I say yes to something where I should have set a boundary, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble with her. I should really consult her the next time, right? So I'm really trying to actively build that relationship because I know that she is also the one who has built that business. So she knows what we need to do, right? And so from the actively working on the relationship by doing exercises like, writing a letter from her, and there's other modalities as well that I can share with you, but I don't want to overwhelm you with that work. If you can just start with one, that's fine. Or Katya did a beautiful workshop in the Role Model Lab. Beautiful additional method, right? So there's not like one finding the best version of finding your best version method is better than another. All of them add to you getting to know that better, right? So doing that consistently is the base. And then every day starts with checking in. I am here. I'm here. You're here. You're this, I know you, I see you, I'm here. That's where I ground myself. Then I plan the day. Every day, daily self-management. And we now have it as a product, which I absolutely love, but I'm also going to give you my worksheet. That worksheet is in my 50K roadmap. That worksheet is what I started when my business really took off, and I used it religiously because this is the worksheet is where the worksheet is where I decide, right? On any given day, I'm like, I'm here, you're here, I recognize the journey. What do I do today? What do I actually do today? That is the vehicle that moves me forward in the most streamlined way possible, right? This is why it's so important. And I quickly want to show you the digital version of it. This is what I've used from the beginning. Brain dump everything you think you need to do. Hello, we're here. What is everything I think I need to do today? Right? And then with her knowledge, prioritize, is it important and is it urgent? I will get it done. Is it important but not urgent? I will schedule it. Is it not important but urgent? I will try to delegate or outsource it. Is it not important, not urgent? I will not do it. And this is where, again, I found so much leverage in my business. A lot of things I just don't do, right? And so I try to do the things with ultimate synergy. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, now I have my tasks. Can I really get the most out of every single little thing that I do on here? And when you think about it 5 minutes longer, you can find tens of thousands of dollars of leverage in that. And it's so insane to me that people don't do it. They rush into doing stuff. And I understand where it's coming from. It's coming from scarcity, and it's coming from you doing something feels like you're doing something. I get that. But I'm like, can we take that extra time, even if it's short, to really just think about how we want to do it, just so you can create so much more leverage for yourself, and the work that you do gets you so much further and goes so much further. I'd really, really love that for you. Right? So daily self-management. Every day I think about this. Every day I think about her every day, and I understand where I am. Every day I think about what I am doing today. And not every day I'm perfect, right? People pop up. I still find it hard to say no. Things pop up that are distractions, but I'm excited about it. I am not perfect, but this is also why I track my time. Tracking the time as you do the tasks, which is what you also have on here. And you can also, again, just do it on the digital worksheet if you don't have the product. Tracking your time is also why we have it here, because it's the best readjustment during the day, right? So during the day when you're like, I left this rabbit hole on YouTube because this is so exciting. Maybe I should build a faceless real brand. It's like during the day, it's like, whoop, time tracking, whoops, I'm falling out of that. Let me get back. So when you actually check off your tasks and you track your time during the day, those rabbit holes, they get shorter, shorter, shorter. So you move you move more like this, right? And if you do that every single day, that really compounds into massive momentum. So I like to track throughout the day, but then I also love to reflect in the evening, looking back and being like, I said yes to that person, although I wanted to say no. What happened? Okay, I did this again. What can we do? Future self, I keep doing this. What do you do? Like right now? And I can start to work through these things. So, the rabbit holes I do fall into, they get fewer and fewer, and the things that I do. And it's not about maximizing it. It's not about being like a soulless taskmaster and getting as much stuff done as possible, right? It's about really making room for the things that version of yourself wants to do because they are meaningful, right? So it's not about maximizing profit, or if that's you, that's fine. For me, it's like I want to spend the most time possible in creation. That's one thing that she keeps telling me, is like, that takes away from your creation time. That's not what we want, is it? Right? So it's like it's optimizing for alignment, and it's optimizing for the most time spent possible in self-actualization, right? Because that's, again, only thing you have. This time, this journey is the only thing you have, right? at the end of the day. And because I reflect, I'm not only becoming more aware, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm reinforcing, and what you appreciate appreciates. So, and where you put your focus grows. When I put my focus on growing my email list, it grows. When I put my focus on growing Grow with Evelyn, it grows. When I put my focus on growing Scale with Evelyn, it grows. I put my focus there, it grows, it accelerates. I have this positive reinforcement. I'm proud of myself. I keep the consistency going. I actually reflect, and I can help myself troubleshoot through certain situations, or I can recognize this keeps coming up again and again, and I'm not able to help myself out of it. I might need external help with this. If yes, how do we want to get that into our life, right? So I have that reflection that allows me to optimize. And because I'm having that, I also have the content to repurpose. And because I have things to repurpose, the content, the lead magnets, the mini offers, and the higher priced offers, right, and the continuity offers, my business grows as well. And all of it is just a perpetuating daily fuel that is enjoyable. It's quite enjoyable, right? Because you also don't have to spin like this. Like a lot of people then are like, okay, I have to do this like as fast. It's like, no, just try to establish that routine so you can do everything more efficiently. And you are on track if you even just did one aligned thing, right? So also understand that you can embrace this process and the progress of installing this in your life, and you documenting your journey of how you're doing that already can become a part of your knowledge, right? Because you are assimilating this, and very likely you'll have your own version of this, and that's very encouraged, right, to do that. So Alex Ramosi said, if you want an epic personal brand, do epic shit first. And I couldn't agree more. It all comes down to aligned action, right? So what do? I like to get clear on the role model self. Here we have the letter that I have linked for you down here. So I would love for everyone to fill in this letter, and I've gone back and forth whether to do this on the workshop or not. I take longer time for my letter and I need to move away from it and get back to it. So I decided that it would disrupt the flow of the workshop, but I highly would love for you to do this as a homework. From this, I like to plan out, if you have the planner, my products and all of the things. So the work that you're doing in the letter will be a perfect base for those of you that have the Grow and Scale planner. That is your North Star work. So you'll be set up so well for doing this work. If you don't have the planner, again, just going from that vision to the daily self-management is massive. The planner just adds an extra layer of clarity, but it's massive if you start to do the daily self-management worksheet and the tracking effort also linked for you. And then you want to start your becoming tracker. Mine is a little bit more elaborate, and I didn't want to do this because I've shared this in the past with people and they found it extremely hard to sustain it. But again, I've been doing this for many years now. So I want to share with you a version that's a little bit easier. So I'm also going to share this resource with you, all of the screenshots that I had in the presentation I have here for you, including different modalities, right, that you can explore and ask for which is the best fit. So this is the daily tracker that I'd love for everyone to use. The date, right? Put the day, it's Thursday. Did I check in the morning, right? And checking in the morning can be as simple as looking at your token, and being with her for a minute. Or if you're like, I don't feel it, reading your letter, right? Maybe crafting custom affirmations from your letter. Maybe taking your letter, right? Please make me 11 custom affirmations I can read every morning to realign with my future self. Right? So maybe it's you reading this whatever is easiest, most sustainable for you. Again, I want you to, I gave less than for your resources this time because I want you to start working like this, because I don't want to take all of that creative burden from you, because I want you to channel that creator, right? And I want you to be able to do this for yourself and experiment and explore the different things you can do and really assimilate what I'm saying. Take the underlying principle. If you haven't watched it yet, this YouTube video might be a good watch for you. I did it. It will not be massively popular for now, but this is exactly where I need to move, right? So using assimilation, extracting the essence of what I'm saying and making it yours, I want you to do this. So you check in the morning, right? I checked in, I'm connected. You do your daily self-management worksheet, link it. It's going to be so good for you to just have this hub where you see what you were focused on. Honestly, if you do nothing else, I think this alone changes your business forever. If you just do the worksheet, if you say screw everything she said today and you just use the worksheet, you'll grow. That's my personal opinion, conviction based on what happened for me and for other people that use it consistently. Then in the evening, do your debrief. All you have to do is Loom, talk out your day. How were you moving? Were you moving towards? What came up for you? What are you excited about creating? Like just capture, right? And if you're like, I struggle to capture today, again, ask ChatGPT, like say, well, today was this, and I should do my debrief, but I struggle to capture. Can you ask me a few questions that would allow me to do that? Right? So get in the habit of helping yourself, taking off creative burden. If you want to, you can put notes. And if you further processed it, you can check it out, right? But I just want to have this as a reminder because people disregard this, but this is your gold mine for finding your frameworks and your worksheets and your tools and your content and your products. So I want to have this as a reminder for yes, I processed this. Right? So that's the things to do. That's all we have to do, right? Is that process consistently or your version of it. And then how we are repurposing, because when we do that, what we do is we create aligned, documented experience of us moving towards that, right? So aligned, documented experience of us walking our personal growth journey. Well, now we still need to monetize it. How do we monetize it? By building our brand and creating offers. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is long form YouTube content. Again, if you did nothing else but having a YouTube channel and a link in bio to a community, that's a full business. People like Nick Suri, right, who was the GOAT last quarter on School, proved that, right? And obviously, yes, he is in full product to market fit. AI is in demand right now. He already is great on camera. He cranks out a ton of content, but he did over 300,000 a month, right? So that in itself is full business model right there, proven out there exists, right? So just want you to understand that this does not have to be complex funnels and a million steps. You can play this however you want to play this. So when I repurpose, which is the monetizing part, right? I think in YouTube content, freebies, lead magnets, reciprocity builders, right? Mini offers. So those are the self-liquidating offers. That has been the biggest, most sustainable, my favorite growth vehicle in my business so far. So where I run an offer to a low price product, and then it can either upsell into my membership offers, or it can give the option to join the membership. So that's my plan for Grow with Evelyn as well, is $7 version, micro version, and then option offers into it. Order bumps, right, which are these additional average order value drivers if you have a funnel, and then higher priced offers that are our money making offers. So up until here, it's audience growing offers. They just are responsible for that part of our monetizing our personal growth journey to reach more of the people that want to be on the journey with us. These are now, creating value. And some of you have already offers, so you just might want to look at it from a lens of refinement, right? But I also like to do beta programs, self-study courses, and then I can decide, does this beta program need to be a self-study course, or do I want it as a cohort offer, or do I want a community offer? I think when you monetize your personal growth journey, a proximity offer in the form of a community is one of the most sustainable ones, right? Because people literally want to be on the journey with you. Grow with Evelyn. That's it, right? So, and that's, I think, for many different people in many different niches, doable. Now, for YouTube, now when I create those, what I do is I need to have the title first, and then I'll get my experience out. So let me give you an example for this. I'm gonna go to YouTube, and then Dan Martell, he was in the event in Kelowna where I talked, and they doubled the donations, which was really beautiful. And on his YouTube channel, he always has these optimized titles, right? So clearly his YouTube team is doing a great work, and I'm piggybacking off of it. So, for example, he has this title, "You're not lazy, you're scared how to fix it." So I would just look at the title, and it probably also would say, I want to make this mine. So I'll start with the title. I want to create a video with a title like this, but based on my genuine experience, relevant for my audience. Here's a recent recording so you can get ideas. Okay, so then Loom of talking things out. So for example, and I want to take something that's now not about this because it might otherwise corner it too much, and you guys might be like, this is all like one. So you just take a debrief from your day. That's the data that you put in your becoming tracker, right? So in the evening, you put your Loom link. Got it. Possible titles. You don't need more time. I would say you need to track your energy. Here's how. I could totally make a video about this. Totally. I would say you don't need more time. You need to track your energy. Here's how. Ask me questions that will tickle out my unique experience with this. Now it asks me questions for this, right? I will answer them to my best abilities, right? I don't want to go through all of it right now because I don't want you guys to have to listen to me too long. But then I would, or let me just start and do super quick. I would typically take the time to properly answer it to get a really good content, but I just want you to understand the principle. When did you first notice that some activities make time disappear for you while others drain you? I think already really early. I always loved to work actually and help my dad get chores done. And I would find that if I can do things and figure out how fast they are, that would make time disappear. Was there a specific moment when you realized it wasn't about time, but it was about energy? Interesting that you asked me. I think that the energy, like one thing that we need to discuss about is your energy arises based on what you think about the situation, and what you think about your situation. The situation is typically because there's a hidden misalignment in your values and who you actually want to be, and you doing this thing, and this is why it's draining. So I think that that's the actual conversation that I want to have. What's the most surprising activity that energizes you and most? I think this is not about my personal activities. I think this is more like about in general. But what energizes me personally most is content creation, but I'm not sure if that's actually helpful in this regard. So, how did you use to think about productivity before you even started paying attention to energy? I thought I just need to be able to get as much done as possible. And I didn't understand that my energy is a compass for if I'm doing the right thing or not. And so I would just answer like this and see if it asks me a question that is not relevant, I'll be like, let me, like, that's not the right question. This is the right question. But I wouldn't know what the right question is if I wouldn't see the wrong one. So it still helps you by contrast to give the right answer, right? So, and then I would just say, this is my answer. Please extract the 5 talking points for my video. Early flows, deeper realization. It's about energy, not time. Energy isn't fixed. It arises from drain, comes from hidden misalignment, surprising source of energy. Okay, and so I would work this just out a little more, and then I would talk to these points on the YouTube video, and that's it, right? So that's how I create the YouTube content. So now here is the content from my YouTube video. Please create a energy productivity journal from it, right? So based on what I find in the YouTube video, I'll make a resource that goes with it. Next up, I would have a mini offer, right? And so for the mini offer, I would go in. Sorry, we need our. Let me just see. Are you guys still following? Yeah. Okay. So, um, okay, so see, it gave me like a full journal. I can lay it out. I can optimize it as a strategic freebie, deliver the freebie with the YouTube video. Perfect. Okay, now I want to create a mini offer based on the insights from my video, as well as have it fitting towards the business I want to build. What problems can I, with my unique experience, solve holistically? Time guilt, boundary collapse, fragmentation of growth efforts, creative burden, overcomplication, misalignment between values and work, false belief. They consume endless, but they don't integrate it. Very much closer tied to this video, but also a problem worth solving for myself and my ideal audience. 3 days, discover exactly what we're. Oh, I could do a challenge. Yes, that would be good. Energy tracking challenge. Honestly, it's pretty good. And I could do that challenge live with members and then repurpose it, like literally there, and would be beautifully helpful. So the next thing I would do here is write the sales page to really know how I want to solve for it. So writing the sales page is casting my vision. If you can grow with Evelyn, you know about this, like you've heard it a gazillion times. And then that sales page is the blueprint for when I build. Then I actually need to develop, right, a very smart solution for it. That's my happy zone, the creation. And then I adjust the sales page to accurately reflect the solution, right? So really good. And I can do this, for example, as a gift to my community. And after that, I repurpose the replays. Now, I want to say, okay, what order bump goes perfectly with this? Give me 22 order bump ideas for the challenge. Keep this in mind. I could do definitely something around core values, identity, etc. Even this workshop would make a good replay, but I want to have it in a front-end offer. I could, for example, just offer the challenge with white label as the order bump. Not solving a separate but connected next problem. Well, I think something around boundaries would be really cool, like a boundary worksheet bundle or kit, etc. And by the way, that's also something I need to and already work on for myself. So that would flow perfectly, right? So next up, and I'm just want to playing everything through. So and in here so far, right, the YouTube video was a debrief, right, from what I know. And then the challenge would be a document, right? Because we're doing it live and we're co-creating it and we're documenting our efforts, and that's how the product comes to life. It's actually a byproduct of the documentation, right? The aspire is the order bump, right? So I am still very much far away from where I want to be as the future version of myself when it comes to boundaries. So the boundary resources that I'm working on right now, they're aspirational for myself. And so when you create those products, you want to think about that. You don't have to have everything figured out to actually create the product. You can be transparent about, I am struggling with this, so I made this resource for me, right? And that's literally what I did in the role model lab, right? So I want to be extremely good with my willpower. I want to master the micro skills that are underlying it. So I've created this resource, and I think it's helpful for you too, potentially, because I found this nice process that works really well for myself. And I'm still mastering, right? And that's completely fine. I'm just transparent about it. So these resources, they don't have to all come from now I did this thing and I was really successful and I'm all that. They can be, yes, you debrief what you've done, like my 50K roadmap, right? Or they can be, let's co-create this together, like I would do this challenge, or like I did the experience worker base camp, right? Debrief was, for example, also my almost evergreen. I already did that successfully, then I did it with more people. Here we did it together. And then you can also just make something where it's like, I really want this for myself because I really know I need to do this work. And here's the resource I created. Here's the plan that I'm following. Here's what I'm doing, right? And that can also beautifully transition into co-creation, right? So beta program, I would approach it the same way that I'd approach the mini offer, just like I showed you. And even this mini offer could be a beta program. I totally think that people would love to say, I'm committing to a 21-day sprint where every single day we're checking in, right? Doing our daily self-management together, tracking the time, tracking our energy, doing a debrief, and do create one product each based on what we do, right? Mapping out, creating one product each. I totally think that would kill as a beta program, and it would also be great later on. I think as for my energy alignment, for the marketability, I would say a cohort offer. For how I want to live my life, I'd say a self-study, right? So I'm allowed to make that decision. Could make more here, but you know what? I like creating new things. I don't like so much keep rerunning the same things because I feel like it limits my growth, and that's my decision, right? That also, I could just turn that into an ongoing community if I wanted to, right? So what I do with the beta program is completely open. I do love to have the base of my community just around my growth journey, But if you want to kickstart that with a specific solution, approaching it from a beta program like this, right? So Experience Worker Bootcamp could be translated into a community as well. I could have kickstarted it with that. But, I decided to keep it as a self-study because I already have a proximity community around myself. But if you want to build a community, starting with a beta and see if it is a community you want to keep, or if it's something you want to do self-study and you want to have another go at the foundation of your community, because that's more aligned with your future self, I think is one of the best ways to pull it off. All right, before going into the next steps, let me check how you're all feeling. This happened to me yesterday. I read the sales pitch copy I wrote the previous day when I really loved it, and yesterday I realized it was a whole lot of nothing. That's the thing with AI, which is why. The letter is in the presentation. I'm also going to link and pin all of the separate resources and put it in a classroom for you. Is your mini offer priced at 7 and the goes into option offers for your membership? So what I was talking about is when school is rolling out the tiers in beginning of October, I will have a mini Grow with Evelyn version and try to consolidate the role model app with Grow with Evelyn. I need to see how I can best do that. Love the idea of using Lumen saving the recordings. Right now, I just talk to chat without saving the conversation. And, that's a lot of data and assets lost there. So that's also why the Becoming tracker is great, because it's becoming your library as well for when did I record this, because over time it starts to be a little bit blurry, but with that you always have the trajectory, and when there's something that I debrief that's specifically good in the notes, I will make a note and I will be like, this has a SLO idea in here, or and then I name it, or YouTube video in here, right? So not every day is where I'm like, oh, I will productize this. Some days are just like, I need that for my growth journey, or that still needs to cook. I still need to work through something, needed to emotionally regulate, etc. But when there's something really good, I'll just mark it in the library. Hey, Evelyn, can we see your current version of the Becoming Tracker? I love an aspirational, this is what it could potentially look like goal. I am currently, I'm currently not sharing it because I have a few things on there that are not just about me. And so I want to be respectful of those boundaries. I could do a cleaned up version and black things out, but it would still reveal a little bit much context about certain challenges that we have. So otherwise I would. So when I did the challenge for the role model lab, I did a public tracker. On the one that I use, I also have, intimate things that I don't want people to know about, because they don't just affect me if people know about them. And so while I am committed to building my personal brand, my husband, other people in my life, challenges we go through with Danny, that's not things, or that I want to make too public. Is your workflow getting ideas from people, answering questions from the chat, topic points, talk it through in Zoom, send to editor, make freebie resource, mini offer sales page? Yeah, so pretty much like what I just shared with you. I remember you had a mini offer as $2.99 and it was PLR. Why was it priced so low? I wanted to reach a maximum of people with it, because I thought that a lot of people will have a breakthrough from the content itself, and I just wanted to make it really valuable. My main offer is my membership. How can you go backwards to a self-study course? So in that case, I would first build the funnel for the self-study course, right? I would decide on my conversion mechanism. Do I want to launch it? Do I want to sell it as a one-click upsell in a funnel? How do I get people in? Once I've decided that, I would set up the test. Once I know that it's converting, I would talk to my existing members and say, here's a hard conversation. I'm converting this into a course. Could you tell me where to find more info about these formats? I think YouTube swallowed it, or maybe there's another message coming. Okay, so I quickly wrap up the next steps and then I'm taking all of your questions. So, or did the YouTube lead magnet formats? I do expand on the different ones. So, for example, in Grow with Evelyn, we have a full chapter on YouTube reverse organic. The lead magnet is in the list building course. The mini offer, I just recently, sorry, you can't see that. So, YouTube is in here. The lead magnet is in here. The mini offer is in here. The beta program, I actually have a YouTube video that I would love for you guys to check out. And it's also, the beta program is also what we're selling in the Heart of Growth. Here, new program. That's the beta program. And then the How to Do Your School is in here. And self-study course basically just means you sell the beta program, the recordings as a standalone. And cohort would mean you keep launching it and enrolling people. Okay, so next steps would be, I would love for you to schedule at least 2 dates with yourself this week. So you can fill in the blanks of this letter to your future self. It's really this is the lowest mental capacity one that I've found. So I think it should be doable. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And then if you want to, you can use these prompts to further get details. So it will create a values menu for you, a do's and don'ts list, a more or less canvas, kill, keep, combine to look for synergy, and 111 next micro steps. And you're going to love this. I think it allows you to, it's a really quick way, just paste the prompt in the letter to get a lot more insights about that future self. So you can read about yourself and you can learn. So for example, here's my values menu, right? So my core identity values is synergy, intentionality, serenity, integrity, kindness, courage, openness, calm, intent. Lifestyle values are nervous system care, presence, boundaries, nourishment. So it gives you do's and don't list. What do you do, what not to do. So you can check in the morning with this, more or less. And then what you can keep, kill, and combine. This is great for your offers as well. And then I have a list with all of the micro steps that I can take towards myself, as well as further reflection questions. So this is a really great way to paint a much more holistic picture of that future version of your role model self. Now, then I would love for you to work the Becoming Tracker. So check in with your role model self every morning by reading through the outputs, right? Or find your own version of it. And then use the daily self-management worksheet. I linked it here for you as well. Sorry. I need to open it in a new tab. You want to set the intention to be open to synergies and wise enough to tell the difference between a dash mushroom and a detour, right? So that's one of the things that I found is a great self-coaching tool. I would just define the two opposite sides, and then I would say, is this or is it that? So when I look at an opportunity, when I look at something on my daily self-management worksheet that I think like I should do, I will sit with it and I will ask my future self, that version of myself, is this a dash mushroom? So is this propelling us forward, or is this a detour? Like, will this actually send me around in circles? And then I let that version answer. And, with that, it's pretty clear. So I love to do that. Start your Becoming Tracker and record a quick evening debrief. You can ask ChatGPT for prompts. And then look at the repurpose offer menu and think about what experiences you want to productize, because working on these and providing them for others will create synergy. Use the product prompt for brainstorming, right? So if you have the Grow and Scale Planner, you want to try this for the next week. So you can fill in the vision board section from this knowledge and from this place of the role model self, and it will really help you to get the most out of the planner. The planner closes the gap between these two a little bit further, but even if you don't have it, I think if you follow these steps, you are really, really set. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. And my last famous last words is, if you think this was a whole lot of information and you're not sure about anything, if you do nothing else, please start using the daily self-management worksheet and the debrief in the evening. If you do nothing else, this already will, I deeply believe, transform your business and life. If you do nothing else, because I know, because that was the main thing that I did for the first 3 years. And it was what made all the difference for me. It's what led me to do all of the right things in that regard without knowing it. And it's amplifying because I'm paying more attention now and I understand why it was working. But if you do nothing else, that in itself already will make the biggest difference. All right. And I hope it changed your perspective too. All right. So let me see if we have any questions. Perfect. Thank you. How do you see this process work when you're teaching a transformation you already achieved, but your personal development is in a different area from where your clients need support? I think that is an opportunity for you to still start reporting from where you are and reference back to that business. Because look, just because, Alex Ramosi is here, doesn't mean that his audience that often is like here, cannot learn from him. And in fact, that he has achieved bigger magnitude and that he's concerned about different things right now, it doesn't take away from his brand. It only adds to it. And so I would say, still the same principle, show up holistically, because the opportunities that will come from that, you can't even foresee yet. And the synergy that it will allow you to do. And it will avoid you overthinking it and trying to manufacture for them and trying to manufacture for sales. It is the much bigger unlock, right? Yes, a video that is really directly in their pain point right now might get you more immediate sales. And I'm not saying don't do it, right? I also record, videos for school where I'm like, here are all the MECE business models that you can do with, or the value models you can do with your school. And that is very close to where I am right now. But I'm more setting myself up for, I now have a really good framework to define value models. And designing this process actually gave me a leg up for what I want to do in the licensing, right? So you can still do it and double dip, right? So that's kind of how I would try to see it. How can I always double dip? This was cool. I'm glad. How do we reorder the Grow and Scale bundle after 6 months? That's such a good idea, or such a good question, and a good idea too. Please do, if it's genuinely helpful. Laura will know that. It's going to be on Amazon, so you should be able to just order it off of Amazon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, was this good? Let me know. Any feedback in the chat? Is there anything that's open for you? Anything where you're like, yeah. Thank you so much. All right. I know it's a lot, so let it marinate. I will put all of the resources in the respective classrooms for you. I'm also working on more of the tools that I use and giving them in a worksheet format, so you can have those methodologies for self-mentoring quicker, also because it's going to be part of the SLO, so win. And I'm going to give those to you as well, but working on those. Thank you. Really appreciate so many of you staying on with me. And yeah, thank you for making this a great workshop with me. I see you in the communities and can't wait for you to share what's happening for you when you start doing this work. Joined late, so awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful rest of the day. I see you in the communities or on YouTube or on the email list. Bye for now.